Hello there, it's Rivka. It's a pleasure to see you this holiday. Um, so, I have something that hopefully makes sense is prepared for tonight. Someone, if you would, let me know in the chat room if I'm coming through as I'm starting to explain this. Um, so, I'm thinking about a lot of things about specifically building community because thank you, Jeremiah, because of projects working on with Patrick. I was just down in Atlanta working on a new project with Patrick, and it made me think about a lot of things. And he asked me to teach something tonight, and I kept coming back to this TED Talks, and Patrick's really the one that turned me on to TED Talks. I never really paid attention to it before, but the one in particular that I'm talking about is Amanda Palmer's, and hers is The Art of Asking, and that's really something that's hard for some people, and a lot of people don't understand what's really going on there. So I have some things to talk about tonight about that, and some clips of some videos. And there's two videos I'll be using, which is the TED Talks from Amanda Palmer from TED Talks on YouTube, and the other one is the first part of what is currently a two-part documentary on a Total Disruptions YouTube website, and it's by this really great director. I can never pronounce her name right. It's Andi Timonier. She's won 2 Sundance Awards for Dig and We Live in Public. And she's doing stuff right now with Amanda Palmer. And Amanda Palmer's whole idea is bringing the music to the masses, doing it DIY, and making the art for the public. So if you don't know much about Amanda Palmer, she's a musician, a songwriter, and general artist. So let's see a little introductory video about that.
So I didn't always make my living from music. For about the 5 years after graduating from an upstanding liberal arts university, this was my day job. I was a self-employed living statue called the 8-Foot Bride, and I love telling people I did this for a job because everybody always wants to know who are these freaks in real life. Hello. I painted myself white one day, stood on a box, put a hat or a can at my feet, and when someone came by and dropped in money, I handed them a flower and some intense eye contact. And if they didn't take the flower, I threw in a gesture of sadness and longing as they walked away.
So that's sort of her introduction into where she's coming from, and it's that moment of prolonged eye contact, that moment of interacting with each other that we crave so much, and that I think is what we really are trying to provide with programs on OneShul, with books from punktorah, with every project. And so I want to, ask you a question and play another clip. And while you're watching this clip and while we're talking, I want you to think about this question. And it's something that I've never really gotten a good answer from. And the question is, what would make you feel like you had personal contact with OneShul? What would make you feel most connected? So let's watch this next clip.
I had the most profound encounters with people, especially lonely people who looked like they hadn't talked to anyone in weeks. And we would get this beautiful moment of prolonged eye contact being allowed in a city street, and we would sort of fall in love a little bit. And my eyes would say, "Thank you, I see you." And their eyes would say, "Nobody ever sees me. Thank you." I had the most profound...
And so that moment of, we see you and we hear you and we want to provide what you want, is what we're looking for. So we need feedback from you. And I'm sure you you may or may not know, Jeremiah, wonderful Jeremiah, is around a lot of days to answer questions on our website. So really, you should avail yourself of this opportunity, because we want to connect with you, we want to help you, we want to be there and be a part of a community for you. So help us help you. That is one of the first things of questions to ask. So as the 8-foot bride, people would pass by her in cars, and they Amanda Palmer, and they would say, get a job. And she would say to herself, this is my job. And I think that's how I feel. But I'm time rich and money poor. And so this is how I connect to the community, as a problem solver, as a researcher, as a general fixer, if you will. What I really want to express is that I spend time these days working because I don't have the money that I used to have. But I see that they equal out in a lot of things, because a lot of people don't have $10 to pay for dinner, but they can bring a dish that they made or had fresh greens from their garden and bring them to a potluck, and everyone is happy and satisfied. And this is the kind of things. And this ability to contribute to the community is really comforting to me. And I feel like it's me taking ownership of my community. And even if I don't teach so much anymore or have money much often to share, I try to share everything that I do have of value. And I hope that there is you find something that you value that you can share. And maybe you don't share it with the whole OneShul community, but maybe you can share it with your one friend. You can do that one mitzvah that moves us forward. Because that's what it's really about, is taking all of the learning and moving forward. So I think this kind of leads us, we should talk for a second about the book of Ruth, right? It's connected. It's the end of the grain harvest in Israel. That's why Shauvot, the end of the 7 weeks of the counting of the Omer, are the same time in which Ruth meets Boaz. And Ruth says in 1:16 and 17, she tells Naomi, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, may be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." Ruth had basically built her community, her life, around her husband's family, and just couldn't bear to leave Naomi. So she went with Naomi to a new community, and ended up with Naomi and Boaz's help. She built a whole new life. She took ownership of a new community. So what we need to do is build something called random closeness, and I believe this is in the next clip. So let's look at it and see what she's talking about.
And I would get harassed. Sometimes people would yell at me from their passing cars, "Get a job!" And then Twitter came along and made things even more magic because I could ask instantly for anything, anywhere. So I would need a piano to practice on, and an hour later I would be at a fan's house. This is in London. People would bring home-cooked food to us all over the world backstage and feed us and eat with us. This is in Seattle. Fans who worked in museums and stores and any kind of public space would wave their hands if I would decide to do a last-minute spontaneous free gig. This is a library in Auckland. On Saturday, I tweeted for this crate and hat because I did not want to schlep them from the East Coast, and they showed up care of this dude, Chris from Newport Beach, who says hello. I once tweeted, "Where in Melbourne can I buy a neti pot?" And a nurse from a hospital drove one right at that moment to the cafe I was in, and I bought her a smoothie, and we sat there talking about nursing and death. And I love this kind of random closeness, which is lucky because I do a lot of couch surfing. In mansions where everyone on my crew gets their own room, but there's no wireless, and in punk squats, everyone on the floor in one room with no toilets, but with wireless, clearly making it the better option. And then
So, you see, she comes up with this term, and it's random closeness. And I'm not quite sure how to define random closeness, but I think it's really what we can experience as an online community. We need to build random closeness. Just as the Torah was given and the tribes of Israel began, we must build our tabernacle on the internet and through our personal and our mass communications with each other. Of course, Ruth's story corresponds because of the description of the barley and the wheat harvests, but also because of Ruth's desire to become a member of the Jewish people. She wished to be defined by acceptance of the Torah. Thus, when we join together, we can be defined by our uniqueness and want of interpersonal communication. The story of Ruth can also be seen as an allegory of the children of Israel leaving Egypt behind and reaching Mount Sinai, where they received the Torah. And I'm thinking about this and trying to wrap my head around, this moment, and it's got to be like when you reach Mount Sinai and it's like the first day of summer camp, and you find this whole group of people that are a lot like you and you have stuff in common. Or maybe it's like that moment when you go to a show of your favorite band at a bar and you meet someone who's just wicked awesome. And maybe they're your new friend or end up being that special someone. But either way, you connected with each other and you did it based on a random closeness because you are a part of a community of followers that have built a random closeness network. It may be the pen pal you meet in the chat room. It may be Jeremiah that you talk to on the website. But that instant connection is the thing that we all crave and that I hope that we can build and share together. So let's see another clip, and I think this one is from the Total Destruction, but we'll watch this one.
Almost $3 million in less than 2 days. Driving me a little crazy. The Atlantic wrote an article yesterday saying this is bad and wrong, as was Amanda Palmer. It's problematic. In Veronica Mars's case, they're asking you to pay for what will ultimately be a studio movie. The only thing you get in return for your investment is the movie. Well, yes! They want the movie. They want the movie. Let them pay the filmmaker to make the fucking movie that they want. And they're saying, yeah, that's enough. We want the movie. Otherwise, the movie doesn't exist. And it's like if you were to crowdfund or go directly to the people to fund a total disruption. And people criticized you for saying, well, why should you get the money? And what are these people giving you the money for? It's like, they're giving me the money to make it happen. Because they want it to happen, because I'm doing it. That's enough. It's enough.
I really loved that part of the Total Disruption's little mini piece. I've only done the research on part 1. Part 2 just came out yesterday, and I've been working on this for a while. I've been distracted by other projects. But I really like what she's saying, is that the whole point is to give the money to get the product, because that's what you want. And we can't just rely on big business, and we can't rely on whatever that entity is that says they're the be-all, end-all of everything. We have to do things ourselves. We're in the age of grassroots activism. If you want to see some other really interesting uses of crowdsource funding, you should look at Hannah Hart. You can look at helloharto.com, and she's doing a tour of volunteering across America and meeting up with people, and it's really amazing. And she has an amazing story of all the people that helped her. There's also I'm trying to think who else. There's a couple other people that are doing some really great crowdsourcing stuff. But here's Amanda Palmer talking about her Kickstarter.
The record label wanted to squash our connections with our fans. They didn't get it. They didn't see why.
For my next project with my new band, the Grand Theft Orchestra, I turned to crowdfunding, and I fell into those thousands of connections that I'd made, and I asked my crowd to catch me. The goal was $100,000. My fans backed me at nearly $1.2 million, which was the biggest music crowdfunding project to date.
So I think it's a really empowering that, she found that her base was about 25,000 people. She found that when she was on a record label, she sold about 25,000 CDs with the Dresden Dolls. And instead of, being told she's a failure by the record label, she went out there and raised almost $1.2 million by going to those 25,000 people that would have bought her CD anyways, and just asking for the help. And that's the biggest thing and it's something that punktorah has really taught me. I've learned that sometimes you can just ask. You can just ask a company. You can just ask, someone if they are interested in helping or trading. Patrick pokes fun at me about the wide range of people I know and the jobs that I've had. He jokes, "Oh, I need you to find me an orthodontist who also works on motorcycles." And he says, "Oh, you would know someone." And I think, I almost know someone like that. So I think the secret to such a font of knowledge is really listening to people, sharing an idea with them, and always, always be ready to lend a hand. Because you never know when that one act of kindness might lead you. You never know where that one Twitter response is going to send you, and what it's going to do for you. It can do amazing things. Crystal says that the internet may mean less record sales than people pirate, but I think this shows how much people are willing to give and support when they are touched by what someone does. Exactly. AmandaPalmer.net. You can go there, and for absolutely nothing, you can download her music. Or you can give her $5, or you can give her 50 cents, or you can give her $500. And it's her going out there and just asking. And here's a little clip about that.
Some backlash to just my Kickstarter. A lot of people were like, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. You know, you're powerful. You were on a major label. Like, you should be able to find some other way of getting money, Amanda. And I was like, this is the way. Like, you telling me you should be able to find some way of making money, Amanda, you're huge. I'm like, yes, I have. This is it. You're watching it. It's me and my fans, and we're doing it. There's nothing bad about it.
It's not easy. It's not easy to ask. And a lot of artists have a problem with this. Asking makes you vulnerable.
There's a lot of heart and soul and art involved, but at the end of the day, it's not charity. I'm not begging for people to just give me money so I can live. I'm trying to give them something back, i.e. a book, a product, a concert, an experience. Some backlash to just my...
And so she got backlash to a lot of what she was doing, but if you sit down and think about it, it really makes a lot of sense. Katsira points out that Amanda Palmer was amazing during the bombings in Boston. She turned her Twitter feed into a crowdsourced news feed about what was happening. She's really good about that. In fact, I have a clip of people talking about, you know, how prolific she really is. She got some flack for some stuff that she did about the Boston bombing, her poetry, but I mean, all great artists are a little nutty, and they do things that some people hate and some people love, and that's the beauty of art, is that it starts conversations. So I want you to hear from the people that work with her and from her about what she says about what the power of DIY and crowdsourcing can really do.
I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that Amanda is one of the, if not the hardest working artist in the music industry. She gets up every morning, and heaven help you if she gets to her email before you do, because you will spend the entire day keeping up. There's a lot of excitement and romance about being DIY, but if you're going to be DIY at the level that Amanda is operating, it requires an enormous staff.
We've got tours going on, we've got promo we're working on, you know, the physical album for commercial release needs production. This operation is still moving.
Artists just need help. And it used to be that the only ones capable of helping them to the extent they needed help was a label. Now you're seeing artists get help in all sorts of creative ways, from their fans, from labels, from management, from, you know, their friends.
So you can see, like, how much internet work it really takes. And if you watch the Total Disruptions videos, you can really see even more, like, how much work she does and how attached she is to Twitter and getting the information out there and sharing and asking for help, because it's the best way to connect. It's the best way to get what you need and share an experience with someone else. Jeremiah is commenting about how he collects old punk on vinyl, and that this whole thing is nothing new. If you're a fan collector and you want the limited edition vinyl, it's awesome, but being able to download the songs for free for your phone or your iPod is even better. And that's exactly what Amanda Palmer wants to do. She wants to give you that Kickstarter reward of the album for $100 and you get the downloads for free. But she also wants to make sure that everybody, even the person that can only afford $5, can give her the $5 instead of just ripping the CD and her never seeing the money and then never being able to have that moment of connection where they take ownership of being a part of something more. So I have one last clip to leave you with. And I want to ask you, a couple things. I want to know. Well, I guess I've gotten the response from you already in the chat room about what you think of crowdsourcing. You're giving me, great feedback about Kickstarter and Bandcamp, and I think that those are great. But always remember that punktorah has PayPal button right there. You can use all sorts of different ways to donate. You can donate time, you can donate resources, you can donate skills, and that's part of taking ownership of the group. I'll play this last clip for you and then give you my last closing thoughts, and then we can talk about anything else you want to talk about.
I was in Manhattan, and I tweeted for a crash pad, and at midnight, I'm ringing a doorbell on the Lower East Side, and it occurs to me, I've never actually done this alone. I've always been with my band or my crew. Is this what stupid people do? Is this how stupid people die? And before I can change my mind, the door busts open. She's an artist. He's a financial blogger for Reuters. And they're pouring me a glass of red wine and offering me a bath, and I have had thousands of nights like that and like that. So I couch surf a lot. I also crowd surf a lot. I maintain couch surfing and crowd surfing are basically the same thing. You're falling into the audience, and you're trusting each other. I once asked an opening band of mine if they wanted to go out into the crowd and pass the hat to get themselves some extra money, something that I did a lot. And as usual, the band was psyched, but there was this one guy in the band who told me he just couldn't bring himself to go out there. It felt too much like begging to stand there with the hat. And I recognized his fear of, is this fair? And get a job. And meanwhile, my band is becoming bigger and bigger. We sign with a major label. And our music is a cross between punk and cabaret. It's not for everybody. But, well, maybe it's for you. We sign, and there's all this hype leading up to our next record. And it comes out, and it sells about 25,000 copies in the first few weeks. And the label considers this a failure. And I was like, 25,000, isn't that a lot? They were like, no, the sales are going down. It's a failure. And they walk off. Right at the same time, I'm signing and hugging after a gig, and a guy comes up to me and hands me a $10 bill. And he says, I'm sorry, I burned your CD from a friend. But I read your blog. I know you hate your label. I just want you to have this money. And this starts happening all the time. I become the hat after my own gigs, but I have to physically stand there and take the help from people. And unlike the guy in the opening band, I've actually had a lot of practice standing there. Thank you. And this is the moment I decide I'm just going to give away my music for free online whenever possible. So it's like I was in Manhattan.
So I think that really sums up what she has to say in her TED Talks. And I can say from working in the music industry and with interacting with people specifically that I've met through punktorah, like Patrick, that when people open their homes and their lives to you, a great thing can be built. And as I said earlier, I was just down in Atlanta with Patrick working on this new project, and I really got to see how he's putting his OneShul live program together and what he can do. I open my home to, my quote-unquote family of people every holiday, and they always bring something. And Patrick and Stephanie open their home on Shabbat and only ask that one brings something or contributes $10. And I think Amanda Palmer has really opened the conversation on how to create for the masses and make it a viable product that everybody is happy with the exchange. And I really think it's up to us to explore this idea and refine it. It's us to take on as not the Torah, but a new chapter, the new internet age, the new connection of people to people that may or may not ever meet each other in real life, but nonetheless can have a friendship and can create a community. So I challenge you to think about what's important to you and what you want, and to give us that feedback. And also to think, put that JFK voice in the back of your mind and say, what is it that you can do to make community bigger and better and help more? And don't be afraid to ask for help, because there's always somebody who's willing to do that mitzvah. And when you pay into the world pays back into you. Thank you so much for listening to me tonight. Is there anything anybody wants to ask or add before we leave? I know I was supposed to teach for an hour, but I ended up only having 30 minutes of conversation. I want to remind you again, my email address, if you want to respond to anything I've said, is Rivka at punktorah.org. You can always email me. I'm the director of online engagement, so I'm here to engage with you. And even though you don't see me anymore, I don't teach Torah on Monday nights anymore. We have someone who's wonderful and does it these days. I'm still around to talk, and I'm still around to chat, and Patrick's here to chat, and Jeremiah's here to chat, and what we really want is just to build a community with you. So won't you be our neighbor? Won't you please be our neighbor? Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.